You guys, welcome or welcome back. It's been a while since I've made a video for this channel, and that is unacceptable. This year I did make a physical TBR shelf and put all the books that I have yet to read on there, and yet every month when it's time for me to make a monthly TBR, I look at those physical TBR shelves and I still tell myself, oh, there's nothing to read, which is untrue. There's just a bunch of books on there that I keep putting off reading. So I thought it would be fun to sit down today and talk about 10 popular books that I keep putting off reading and why. What I don't want is for this video to be an excuse after another excuse. Some of these I feel like I have valid reasonings for pushing back, but I'll let you guys be the judge of that. I honestly could have done way more, but I thought for today we would just talk about 10. I try to pick ones that I think are really popular or were very popular at some point. So if you guys have read any of these, definitely pressure me in the comments to read them. Up first, in no particular order by the way, we have Babel by R.F. Kuang. I absolutely loved the Poppy War and the writing in the Poppy War, but something about this book, I don't know if it's because it's like dark academia or just something about this cover screams, I'm not gonna understand this book. In the Poppy War, the writing was so involved and it just felt like a different level of fantasy that I had never read before. So reading like a historical fantasy, historical fiction, dark academia type book by her, I honestly just don't think I'm gonna understand it. I feel like everything's gonna go over my head. This feels like it's gonna be too intelligent. From award-winning author R.F. Kuang comes Babel, a historical fantasy epic that grapples with student revolutions, colonial resistance, and the use of language and translation as a dominating tool of the British Empire. This just sounds like an academic piece. I have heard amazing things about this book though. It's chunky. I'm scared of it. If you have read it and you don't think it's that bad, let me know so I feel better and maybe I can read it sometime soon. Up next, Dance of Thieves by Mary E. Pearson. This book isn't even talked about anymore. This was Book Talk popular 2 years ago, I feel like. I have not read this book because I heard that you should read, I believe it's called the Kiss of Deception trilogy before you read the duet. I don't know how it ties in. I don't know if that trilogy is like a prequel. I don't know if it just happens in the same world. I heard from multiple people you have to read the trilogy first, and that's why I have yet to read the duet. It says a stunning new adventure set in the kingdoms of the Remnant. Oh, okay. The Remnant. I think the Remnant trilogy, hold on, I do own the other book. Here it is. This is the worst part. The reason I haven't read this book yet is because I haven't read this series, yet I own the first book in this series. So this is The Kiss of Deception, Mary E. Pearson, The Remnant Chronicles, okay? Let me try to get a better understanding of what's happening here. Leah escapes to a distant village on the morning of her wedding. She settles in among the common folk, intrigued when two mysterious and handsome strangers arrive, and unaware that one is the jittered prince and the other is an assassin sent to kill her. I honestly hate to say it, think I am judging this book by the cover, and the cover just does, I don't want to pick it up. So I keep putting off this book, which then has me putting off this book. So if you've read either one of these, pressure me in the comments to read them. This is just embarrassing that I haven't read these yet. I don't think I've heard anyone talking about this duet this year because it's just over and done with, but it's something I'd like to have read at some point. Up next, I mean, you know what? I don't even have to explain myself when it comes to this one. Look at it. This book is 800 pages. It's the first book in a series. Why is it 800 pages? Sarah, I don't understand. This is House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J. Maas, the first book in the Crescent City series. I liked ACOTAR. Throne of Glass changed the entire course of my life. So I don't know why I can't get myself to read Crescent City. I honestly just don't think anything is ever gonna top Throne of Glass for me. I am a Throne of Glass girl. I'm sorry if you're not a fan, but I do think about that series every single day. I think the reason I keep putting off the Crescent City series is because it's set in our time. I don't like that. When it comes to fantasy, I think I like the escapism, and the modern urban settings just don't do it for me. I will say, when we were leading up to the third book that came out this year, I was trying to start this series, so I tried reading this book, you guys. Here's my bookmark. I got 37 pages in. Let me show you so you can get a visual. This is how far I got in before I had to stop because I had no idea what was going on. And I've heard that's a thing with this book. I've heard it takes like 100 pages to really get into it, but I just think that's insane that it takes that long for you to be able to understand what's happening. I do want to read this series eventually. I don't know when I'm going to. Throne of Glass took a lot out of me though, so I'm thinking I could take a break from Miss Sarah J. Maas and come back once I miss her worlds, and if they end up having any crossovers, that will push me to read it. Up next, I have Binding 13 by Miss Chloe Walsh. This is the first book in the Boys of Tommen series. I really just am putting this off because I've heard so many amazing things about it, and this, in my mind, has the potential to be my new hyperfixation, something that's gonna hold my entire heart and soul, and I just don't feel emotionally ready for that. In my mind, if I start this book, I'm not gonna be able to stop there. I'm gonna have to read the entire series back to back, and it's just gonna be everything that I think about, talk about, dream about. There's gonna be a moment in time for a series like this, and I just don't think I'm there yet. Up next, I have Twisted Lies by Ana Huang. This is book 4 in the Twisted series, and I keep putting off this series because I hated book 1. I hated it. I hated it. I couldn't move on. Everyone says that the first book is like the weakest link, and as the series goes on, it gets better and better. This is the last book, but I heard it's the best one. But I don't want to read book 2, Twisted Games, and because of that, I can't read book 3 or book 4. The back isn't really giving anything. I don't even know what trope this is gonna be. I want to be a fan of Ana Huang. I didn't love that first book. So let me know. Let me know if it's even worth it. Truly. Be brutally honest. Is this about to be the best series I've ever read? Because if not, I don't even want to try, I don't think. Next book, we have From Lukov with Love. I've never read a Mariana Zapata book. I have 2 of them. I have this one and I have Colty. And honestly, for the same reasons. It's a huge book. I've never read her writing, and I've heard that it's a very, very slow burn. I do want to know if I'm a fan of that. But the main reason I keep putting off this one is because I know it's an ice skating romance, and I did not like Icebreaker, which was a hockey ice skater romance. After 17 years and countless broken bones and broken promises, she knows her window to compete in figure skating is coming to a close. But when the offer of a lifetime comes in from an arrogant idiot she spent the last decade dreaming about pushing in the way of a moving bus, Jasmine might have to reconsider everything. Okay, so it's gonna kind of be like Enemies to Lovers. We'll see. Let me know how this one is. This would be like a cute winter one though. I'm thinking December, January. I don't know why I can't get myself to read any of these. Like, why do I own them then? I shouldn't buy them unless I'm ready to read them. Up next, I have read Rising by Pierce Brown. I've been wanting to read this book for years, so make that make sense. I've loved every sci-fi that I've ever read. This is a trilogy. That might be why I keep putting it off. I don't want to keep starting series because I'm in the middle of so many. I should do another video of all the series I'm currently in the middle of because it's bad. It's ironic too because I always say how much I love books that have like trials, and everyone says this is basically the Hunger Games in outer space. That sounds so intriguing. I also for some reason don't think I read a lot of male authors. Is that true? That might not be true. I don't think I do, but one of my favorite authors is Neal Shusterman, and he's a man. I need to give Pierce Brown a try. I don't even want to talk about this book. I don't even want to talk about this book because I'm constantly trying to explain why I haven't read this yet. But this is The Secret History by Donna Tartt. One of the first books I ever wanted to read when starting this whole reading journey, so definitely one of the oldest books on my shelves. I kind of want to blame it on the size, but I don't necessarily know if that's what it is. I really want to be this girl though, and I loved If We Were Villains by ML Rio, and that was Dark Academia, and I was intimidated and felt the same way about that book as I do with this one, and I had a great time with that one. So I do want to give this one a shot. I'm gonna try to read it this year. She says every year, but it says it's a psychological thriller and it's suspenseful from start to finish, so like I need to know what it's about. The way that everyone's describing this, a haunting, compelling, brilliant piece of fiction, I am missing out. Now that it's fall time though, I have to start it. Oh boy, another one. This is Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. You might have heard of it 3 years ago because that's when it was trending. I remember I tried to start this book, I DNF'd it. I've read so much more since trying to read this that if I gave it a second go, I feel like I would have a better experience with it. I remember it just being hard to follow. I don't know what about the storytelling made me feel that way, but I really liked the idea of like ghouls and like weird ghost creatures. I don't really remember the plot. I made it 30 pages in. This is one of Bailey's favorite books though, so I need to give it another shot, and book 2 is one of my favorite covers that I've ever seen. So I do want to eventually try to read this again, but I keep putting it off because I DNF'd it the first go around. And lastly, I have Alone with You in the Ether by Livy Blake. And I remember going crazy. I wanted to get the indie published version so bad because I loved the cover. I was so heartbroken when I couldn't get my hands on it and I had to get the hardcover instead. And then I never read it. I've heard this book is life-changing. Like when girlies were reading it, this was their favorite book they've ever read. I believe this is literary fiction though, and it says it's a contemporary love story like no other, exploring the nature of love, what it means to be unwell, and how to face the fractures of ourself and still love as if we're not broken. Like that sounds so good. But I think I keep putting this one off because it no longer has that feel of urgency. I was trying to get my hands on the paperback before they went out of print, so I was like really into it. Everyone was talking about it, and then the hardcover came out. I got it and I'm like, okay, I mean, I own it now, I can read it whenever. I got such a bad outlook on it. I also stopped hearing people talk about this. Olivia Blake has come out with like a bunch of other books since this, and I hear those talked about, so I kind of just forget about this one. But I do think I tried to read this and it was kind of set up like a play, and that was like hard for me to get into, so you can't say it's for a lack of trying, because there's a couple of these that I did try to read, but for one reason or another I could not finish, and that is what is keeping me and holding me back from starting over. At the end of the day, there's no real good reason for not reading any of these books. There's really not. And if I don't plan on reading any of them, I should just be donating them or trying to sell them or giving them to other people who will read them. But that's a conversation and video for another day. That's pretty much it though. I wanted to go over 10 books, 10 popular books that I keep putting off and why. I'm hoping this was somewhat entertaining, maybe. Can't wait for me to sit and edit this back and just hear myself say the same thing 10 times. These are all books I think I would really enjoy though. So let me know in the comments if you've read any of these, if you think I would like them, which ones I should prioritize, if you think I just should take them off of my physical TBR. Because if they're not worth it, I don't want to waste my time trying to read them and DNFing. If you like this though, let me know. Maybe I could do a part 2. I could go on and on because I keep putting off a lot of books that are on my shelf, which is really sad because I'm not stopping the purchasing of new books. But that's pretty much it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you are not already subscribed to my share channel, Loranda Reads, make sure to do that. We post very regularly, unlike on this channel. We also have a book club on Fable. It's called Literal Besties. I'll leave that link in the description if you're interested in reading with us. We're currently in the middle of voting on what we're going to read in September, so definitely check it out. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys next time. This is a cherry icy stain. Don't say anything about it. Because I don't think I've really read a book that's necessarily slow burn or slow enough burn that I've realized, oh, this is a slow burn. That was a whole lot of words. A huge, mesmerizing, galloping read, pleasurably devoured, gorgeously written, relentlessly erudite. Isn't that one of the factions in Divergent? Like, I'm confused. You guys see my dilemma. Oh my gosh, I didn't even know I had a Coraline key as a bookmark. I forgot all about this. Where did I get this from? Wow, this is so cute.